just like to let everybody know before we start the podcast, there may be the odd swear word during Fighting on the Inside. Also, some of the subjects that we cover, especially those surrounding mental health, some people may be affected by these conversations. If you are, then you can find information and help in the show notes. But please, other than that, enjoy the show. So, another massive shout out to our big sponsor, Mangata. Any companies or small businesses, large businesses out there looking for payroll, look no further. With 20 years of UK and global payroll experience, you'll be incredibly good hands. They've got very competitive margins and very, very easy to set up for agencies and candidates. And once a candidate has been referred, they will be contacted within 30 minutes. You really can't ask for much more. So you know what to do. Go down to the description, click on their website to check them out. It's mangatapayuk.com. And thank you so much to Mangata for sponsoring this podcast. Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Fighting on the Inside. As always, before we begin, a massive thank you to our sponsors, Mangata Pay UK. Real power of one and Well Hydrate. Without these guys, we couldn't do what we're doing. And as you all know, this podcast is non-profit and all the proceeds go to anti-knife crime charity Gloves Up, Knives Down, aiding them in stopping knife crime at the source in the UK and London especially. So, today is an exciting one. One of my favourite light heavyweights here, Mr. Anthony Yarde, the beast from the East. I kind of want to ask you to do a Lions in the Camp, Anthony. Can we? It's like
I was going to make it authentic. You know,
all right, well, I'll see if I can get one out of you later in a natural setting. How you doing, mate?
I'm fantastic, man. How are you?
Yeah, very good, mate. Very good. Listen, I have to talk about this straight away as a fan. You just came off the back of an incredible fight against, another beast in the ring, Mr. Beterbiev.
Yes.
How are you feeling after that, mate? Can I get your thoughts on that fight?
Do you know what? I feel a lot better than people think I feel. Because I enjoyed the fight, being in there. I enjoyed watching it back as a boxing fan, trying to take my emotion out of it. It was an amazing fight.
When you say take your emotion out of it, obviously losing is going to be difficult at any time, but you were fighting one of the pound for pound best in there on many people's sort of lips for Beterbiev. He's a very, very dangerous man, but you nearly had the bloke. You gave him probably his hardest fight. I think I heard that he'd said that to you after, right? You were his toughest fight.
Yeah.
So there must be an immense amount of pride in that as well, even in the loss.
Do you know what? So in boxing, the way I knew this before I even got into the sport, not every fighter retires undefeated. So my mentality was, I'm just going to give it my all. Hopefully I'll make it to not hopefully, I said I'm going to make it to a major stage. I'm going to be a world champion, etc. But getting to the stage that I got to so far, I can only be proud. I came from like nothing. I know everyone says that, it's a cliche saying, but I literally came from nothing. No boxing background, no support in the boxing scene. I came up in the hard way in boxing. Everyone sees now that glitz and glamour, fighting for world titles, etc. But they didn't see the route I took. I didn't come out of Team GB or anything like that. Not saying I would have went that route, but the options just wasn't there at the time. I started boxing at 19 years old, and I made the decision to train with my first amateur coach named Tony Cisse, because I'm a person that's built on relationships. I could have trained with other people who were in that system, which you could have easily got me into Team GB, because I was knocking out everyone in the amateurs as well. But I just thought my development was best with Tony Cisse. 12 amateur fights, 11 knockouts. And my goal was to always be a good professional or a great professional and not a great amateur. Because there's a big difference.
Very different games, aren't they?
Big difference, yeah.
Well, look, I mean, I want to go into your amateur career, your background and how you got into it. But there's something you said there about not every fighter retires undefeated. I love talking about this because I think it's very, very interesting. And I think the whole boxing atmosphere, at least the landscape, has changed massively in modern day. People are scared to lose their own.
Yeah.
I personally think there's a big element of boxing fans in that. There's a big element of the way fighters are hyped and put on a pedestal, and everyone wants promoters want their fighter to seem like they're unbeatable, to seem like the new Superman. But then also you've got the side of it where social media and fans, they slate people for losing. None of them had a fight in their life, and they get on there and they slate people for losing. So I think there's an element of that causes fighters to be scared of getting in there with the best. But obviously, it's something that is water for ducks back to you. You obviously don't listen to that kind of thing. But would you agree? Like, what's your thoughts on that now? And what do you think more fighters should sort of think in their pro career? Do you think forget about the O and?
Not everyone's built the same. I can't compare myself to anybody because I've done it completely different. But I feel like that stigma comes from caring, and I feel like that's always been there. So I know we're modern. We're thinking about how we do things or how we see things or the things that we hear in this day and age, but I feel like it's always been like that in boxing. It's like even when you're in school, you know, you see a fight, he won, he lost. Like, it's always been a thing. That's why even my decision to turn professional came when I'd made up my mind that I was strong enough mentally to deal with any backlash that comes with boxing, because boxing is not it's one of them sports where it's unforgiving. You know, they say boxing is one of the most brutal businesses in the world. Because you've seen it time and time again, a fighter will give their life to boxing, give their life to the fans. Because really and truly, we fight for ourselves as well to gain financially and to build a legacy. But we're trying to put on a show for fans, and then you see it time and time again. So I call it the Anthony Joshua effect. At one point, everyone's on this, we love AJ, etc. He's doing everything perfect. When he starts changing and he does something slightly wrong, you see the flip side. Everyone starts turning against you. Someone like Floyd Mayweather, some people hated him, some people loved him, and I feel like he realised that game. He said, some people ain't going to like me anyway. Which one am I going to benefit from the most? So he realised that getting people to hate him projected him to another level.
Do you think after people watching him wanted to watch him lose? And that was
100%.
like, do you know what I mean? But they were putting that money straight in his pocket effectively,
100%.
weren't they?
But I feel like that was just the nature of it, and that's always been the nature of the sport. I can give you champion after champion. Mike Tyson, when he was up and coming, you know, a young monster destruction man, there were so much people on the flip side saying, but he ain't fought nobody.
Yeah.
He's going to lose eventually. And then when he went to World Championship and he was still knocking at people said, but he went 10 rounds. He didn't knock out the guy first round. Mate. You can't please anyone in boxing. It's just the way the sport is. It's
fickle fans, and you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. Because I must say as well, it's another thing you read in comment sections. Obviously, the world is just, social media takes over fucking everything nowadays, doesn't it? If you read in comment sections about, why won't they get in that fight? Why won't he do that fight? You should just fight anyone. I want, the fans are paying the money, all that stuff. And as soon as they lose, they're finished. And you think, what the fuck do you think they didn't want to get in that fight in the first place? But yeah, anyway, moving on, and I want to talk about then what you've just said there. Is it 12 amateur fights before you went pro?
Yes.
That, by anyone's standards in this sport, is very little experience to turn over to pro. How long was your amateur career in time? From a timeline
in time, I would like to say it was 2 years.
Right.
But if you go by the calendar year, it was 3 years. But I had a whole year of no one wanting to fight me.
Yeah, because you're knocking everyone out.
I was knocking out everyone. So the difference between England and other systems. So when I went to America, so we was training with like Devin Haney and Errol Spence just come out of the Olympics, etc. I saw Devin Haney fight 4 times in 3 weeks.
Is this in the amateurs? Yeah, when you went out. Gotcha.
When I went out there, and he was still quite young. He fought 4 times in 3 weeks that I was out there. I said, hold on, I've had like 10 fights at the time, 10 amateur fights in like 2 years. Like, it's different. The Russians, so everyone sees me fighting these Russian guys who no one else will fight.
Yeah.
Me, I don't care. I'm just like, cool, we're gonna go and have a good scrap. We're both getting paid well, or they're probably getting paid more, but we're getting paid well, and it's opportunity. But in the amateur system in England, it was hard to get me fights. No one, people will agree to fight me. I'll get there, they'll pull out.
Yeah.
You know the system already, they'll pull out. Yeah. Another thing that happened to me in amateurs, so I won the Haringey Box Cup, got a gold medal. I won every fight by knockout as well. Then I went into the under 20 fight novices. So I was only like 8 fights in, but I had to go into the under 20 bouts because they wouldn't accept me in the under 10 bouts. And then I had my first fight. I knocked out the guy who won it the previous year. I won't say his name. And then the next round came, and then they said, we've lost your card. You can't box. I was devastated at the time. My amateur coach at the time, Tony.
Lost it as in just misplaced the actual thing?
So we can't find your card. And then the guy was so rude, he said, no card, no boxing. But I said, but you guys have got it. No card, no boxing.
Telling me they ain't got a computer system for this kind of
No
thing
card,
to know
no
that you're a
boxing.
card. Nah.
No, and he kept repeating it. Every time I tried to speak, no card, no boxing.
Fucking.
So it's like I'm not saying that they didn't like Tony. Tony had a very bad relationship with the amateur scene. Like, everyone knows about it. Because he liked to do things his way. But I'm the kind of person, even though, you know, if I did go a different route, I might have went into Team GB. I said, that's just not my destiny. I'm going to do things my way. If it's the harder way, I prefer the climb. You know, I'd rather work for something than win the lottery. That's my personality. And then, yeah, that's just been my personality. I like the climb. You know, and then when you do get the championships and you get the wins, it just feels that much better.
So there's a certain part of, I guess, your mentality that must be, although you were knocking everyone out, there's a certain part of underdog mentality in there as well. Always. Because your little experience in the amateurs turning over into pro, you must have still felt a little bit like a fish out of water almost, or people must have looked at you like, this guy has not had a lot of fights, like, what's he doing here?
Exactly.
But, I mean, what was your record again for the amateurs, was it?
I had 12 amateur fights, 11 wins, 1 loss.
And it's all 11 by knockout?
All 11 by knockout. But again, that loss was similar, it was way worse actually, than my first fight with Lyndon Arthur. I'd fought, in the Lyndon Arthur fight, I thought I'd won. When I watched it back, I said, yeah, that fight was rubbish. I know what I could have done better. I beat him in the rematch, but when I fought him the first time, I'd had like 4 deaths in my family from the COVID thing.
Jesus Christ.
And this was like, I fought him about 3 months later. So my head just wasn't, I was going back to the wrong corner. But my mentality is, you got to go to work. You gotta perform. No one cares about your personal life. You got to perform. In the amateurs, completely different, but it was a similar kind of feeling. In the amateurs, when I gave this guy a beating, he even came in the change room afterwards and tried to give me his trophy, because he was like, I didn't win that.
Well, he thought he had lost?
Yeah, he said I didn't win that. No one cheered. When they gave him the decision, the crowd was like, oh, like, no one was clapping. Wow. It was, I went to a home show. So you know when you go to that show sometimes. I'm just explaining for people that don't know about that.
I was going to say, there's again, just for an explanation, I do hear this about the amateurs. People think the amateurs is much different to the pros. It's different in a lot of ways, but there's a lot of bad decisions going on. There's a lot of home show sort of advantage, all that sort of stuff. And
it's not as in the public eye, so
get away with it even more.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's not online, it's not televised or anything like that. And even if it is, you've seen it time and time again in professional boxing. The wrong decision, everyone can see it, but sometimes it's the home fighter, the guy that's got more to give, you know, can generate more money. That's just how it is sometimes in boxing. But my mentality has always been, I'm going to try and destroy this guy, get him out of there.
So talking about mentality, lions in the camp.
Lions in the camp.
There we go.
Gotta do it.
You scared the shit out of me. Lions in the camp. Explain a little bit of that. Where'd that come from? When did it start?
It was born and bred in the gym.
Is this with Tundi?
It was Adi. So Adi's like my second pad lad, the guy that's just looks like Ninja Turtle. He looks like Teenage Ninja Turtle. Yeah. And we was like, he used to like wear the body belt, and I used to just be hitting it for as long as I could or whatever. And he used to just like be shouting at random things. So I used to talk a lot as well. I used to be like, yeah, hold that, talking, trying to motivate myself. He would just be saying things about animals, and I'm an animal person. I'm a Leo. My thing is lions. I love lions. I love sharks. Anything that's dominant in the field.
Yeah.
I love it. And I kept shouting at lions. And he was like, we swim with the sharks. We do this, we do. Just saying all this nonsense. And then I started shouting at lions. And he was like, we don't get weak. We get deep. And I was like, lions. And then he kept saying it. Then he was like, lions in the camp. And I shouted it back. And he shouted it back. We was doing it for about 20 minutes. Everyone was looking. These guys are making so much noise. But as long as you get the most out of that training session, that's it. And from then, it's like some people started clapping in the gym. It was just one of them things. So from then it got born.
It's mad, isn't it? Because it's the amount of motivation you can get even from shouting stuff like that. I mean, looking all through history, even talking about battlegrounds and wars and soldiers and some of the chants and some of the songs and some of the stuff that Spartans, exactly, one of the most famous one. Yeah. It works, doesn't it? It gets you amped up. That's a good story. I'm glad that I know exactly where that's come from and that's still around.
Do you know what the reason I kept saying it is because my understanding is this, yeah. So you got a lion. So if you look at animals, they're the only thing that's still in their natural form. Like us, we've evolved and changed so much, but animals have been animals and lived the way they live in their own fields from the beginning of time, as long as we know, as much as we know. A lion has no choice but to go out and hunt. Don't have a decision. They don't say, "Oh, I want to snooze my alarm clock today."
Yeah, I need to scroll on Instagram.
I want to scroll on Instagram. It's alright if my child don't eat.
Yeah.
Their way of life is surrounded by nature. You know, they call it life circle. We go through it as well. We live and die. We end up back in the mud, wherever your beliefs are, and then animals eat away at our flesh. Same as the animals, you know. If you see it, it's brutal sometimes when you look at it. You know, that lion chasing down a zebra and eating it, but that's their circle of life. But they got no choice but to teach their cub how to hunt, otherwise they die. So I got that same mentality. For example, when I had the deaths in my family, I ain't got no choice. I'm trying to feed my family that's still alive. So I got no choice but to go to the gym or to go and fight. That's my mentality.
That's mad. That's mad. I mean, I love what you're saying there about the lions. Obviously, I think, again, it is something that is so innate. And obviously, when you talk about a lot of people these days, I think something we try and get across on this podcast, mental strength does everything for you. Mental strength, and obviously boxing being massively mental, although it's a physical sport, the battles you go through in the ring up here and in training and all that, and one-on-one in a fight, people can learn a lot from that and that mental strength. And like you said, a lion ain't got no choice. They don't sit and second guess something. They have to go and do it. And it sounds like something you genuinely do. You don't just shout lions in the camp. I can see you actually, that's how you think.
I believe
that and you live it. Right, guys, another massive shout out to one of our sponsors. Now, I know if you're a boxing fan, you have definitely seen Wow Hydrate knocking around. These guys do an incredible range of health drinks to prop up your sporting ventures. You have the electrolyte mix in multiple different flavors to help with rehydration, and also your protein mix, which contains collagen, which will help for recovery. Now, listen, if the likes of Tyson Fury is drinking these things, then it must be a pretty good drink. But don't take it from Tyson, take it from me. Go down into the description, click wowhydrate.com and check them out and buy some for yourself. Keep going with that training with Wow Hydrate. And thanks so much to Wow Hydrate for sponsoring this podcast. So let's get on to young Anthony Yarde. I mean, before you went into the amateurs and started knocking everyone out, like, where did that come from? Where did you fight a lot? Were you always a good fighter? Like, what give us an explanation of how you were, so quick.
When I was young, I would say I was a misled child that had a bad temper for whatever reason, whether that was from. I feel like things always come from somewhere, whether it was some sort of trauma or whatever.
Of course.
So a bad-tempered child that was obsessed with being able to defend himself. So again, it's probably an exclusive. So when I was younger, when I was in primary school, there was three boys, and I grew up with my mum. My mum's a giving person, so when you're that young, you only follow what your parents do. So I remember there was two boys arguing about £1 in a line in the queue while I was going to get lunch. So I had like £3 in my pocket. My mum used to always make sure I had like coins or whatever if I wanted to get sweets or whatever. So I was like, I tapped one of them. I was like, excuse me, being all polite. I was like, do you want £1? Because you are arguing about £1. So you have one. Cool. Innocent little child trying to be a good person. They were like, oh yeah, thank you. The next day, the boy come up to me and said, where's my £1? So he was like, yeah, where's my £1? So I was like, oh no, you ain't asking me. Like, that's not polite or whatever. I must be about 8 years old. I'm young.
Yeah.
And
Primary school.
Yeah, they're the year above me. And then it carried on. Every day the guys are coming asking me for £1. So I said, no, this is bullying. Like, this ain't me being genuine no more. This is bullying.
I think they saw a sign of weakness, didn't they? So
you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So then and then another one got involved. He come and said, oh, like, I need £1 as well. So I said no. And then at that young age I started getting scared. And I never liked that feeling of feeling fear from anyone. So then time went on. I stopped going to school. My mum would drop me to the school and I would sneak at the back and go to my nan's house. And then anyway, long story short, my mum found out. She told my older sister. My sister was older than me. She came down to the school, grabbed up one of the boys, and then it got worse. Like they started calling their cousins down to school. And I'm young. I'm about 8 years old. I don't even know about this stuff yet. And then, long story short, they left the school. Secondary school came now. But that feeling of feeling fear, not being able to do nothing, and being even scared to tell anybody because it went wrong when I told my mum, or she found out, and then my sister came down, made things worse. So then I went secondary school now. Similar thing happened to one of my closest friends. And then they beat him up, like, badly. So I said, no. Went on YouTube. This is when YouTube was fresh on the YouTube. I started tapping in how to knock someone out. Then I come across Mike Tyson. I said, yeah, this is what I'm talking about. A short guy knocking out a big guy. So I got obsessed with watching Mike Tyson. This is at the age of like, this is secondary school now. So like 14 years old, I'm obsessed with this thing of being able to knock someone out, hit someone. And I said, cool. I saw the training he was doing. So I started doing the same kind of training, sit-ups, squats, all that kind of stuff. And then anyway, long story short, I was like, Mum, like, I really want to go to a boxing gym to practice it and try it. Knowing that I'll probably be scared to fight. Because when I used to watch Mike Tyson's fights, this was like 10 years after it actually happened, and I was getting nervous. Watching the fights now, he's won. I'm watching it as like it's fresh, if it's just happening, but I'm nervous. I was like, I don't know how he's doing this. I could never do this. Then I saw the documentary, so he had no confidence, so I related to it. And then going through secondary school, I grew up in East London, Stratford and Forest Gate. There was a lot going on, people getting robbed with knives all the time, a lot of gang violence, etc. And then my cousins were doing like madness as well, in and out of prison. So I grew this mentality that no one's doing that to me. And it's like a hard-headed thing that you build. Nobody's ever doing that to me. Like, are you mad or something? Like, there's nobody that's gonna go in my pocket and take something from me. I'd rather get shot. Like, there's been times where I've been held at gunpoint, and I'm staying there saying, nah, you can shoot me. It's not happening. I'm not living the rest of my life knowing that someone done that to me. It's not happening. Time went on. Then when I actually got into boxing, so I went to, my mum eventually took me to some place in Leighton, and they started telling me about all the discipline. Then I'm relaying that back to the custom art with Mike Tyson. Yeah. Discipline, controlling your tempo, etc. And then time went on. Went through the stages of playing football, soccer for the American people. I was good at other sports, boxing. I was good at athletics. You know, I ran for an academy with Tessa Sanderson. And then it got to that point where I was going around in circles, but I wasn't really making it anything. But I always said I was going to be a millionaire. I was going to do all these great things. And then when I got to like 19, I said, no, I'm going to go to a boxing gym and give it 100%. Yeah. Because that's after I'm going to be relying on myself and how much work I put in. And then I never look back. Now I'm, Anthony Yarde from the East. Yeah.
So I guess what's happened then was that experience in school. Obviously, that's the first time you've ever felt like a victim of something like that, which is helplessness of some sort, fear, all of that stuff. And you took it upon yourself to make sure that you were never fearful of anything. And that's. Do you think that's what made you, like when you first started boxing, going in the gym with that mentality, because you were there for a reason, you were there for self-defense, you were there to train yourself and not be scared and not be bullied or not everyone step on you like that. Do you think that helped you? Do you think that's like that? Do you think that made you a good fighter straight away? Like how were you when you first laced up the gloves? When did the compliments start flying in?
So, what's a funny story is that when I was watching all these Mike Tyson clips, and I'm a person that sees something, I can mimic it. Yeah. Like
naturally gifted, physically,
that aspect. So I was already in my house doing the press ups, the pull ups, the dips. I had them. I don't know if anyone ever had them. There was blue, 5 kg, little plastic.
The rubber
dumbbells.
one, the rubber,
plasticky. Yeah. I used to be there. They were heavy for me at the time when I was doing them. I wanted to be big. But then when I first went to a boxing gym, Finbus reported back to my mum and said, "This guy's never boxed before." And maybe I'm thinking to myself, it's because I've been watching. So it's like a little cheat code.
There's probably an element of it though, isn't it? If you pick things 100%. Up, you've obviously, you've taken it on board. I'm just
literally trying to copy Mike Tyson, the head movement, etc. But he's saying to my mum, he's like, no. You can watch all that stuff, but this guy he can hit. Like, he's only 14 and he's hurting my arms. My mum was like, oh yeah, that's fantastic. Yeah, don't try and get him in. He's not boxing. He'll never be a boxer. I won't allow it. And then the next couple of times I went there, he disobeyed my mum's orders, and he put me to spar. My mum said, I don't want him in the ring fighting nobody, getting brain damage and all them kind of things.
Yeah.
And he put me into the ring. So I was 14 at the time, and he made me spar a 17-year-old who had 10 fights or whatever. I almost knocked out the boy. So all I remember is
first spar ever.
I've never. I was scared. I was like, why is everyone watching? I kept saying, why are they looking at me? I was nervous. I was thinking to myself, this guy's probably going to beat me up. But he was slim and just tall. But this guy, as soon as I got in there, I'm moving. The guy's going boom like a jab, and I was like, nah, that hurt. Like it shouldn't hurt that much. And then obviously from it happening, I got angry. I just started getting angry. I was like, this guy keeps hitting me. He's not even taking it easy on me. Like he's hitting me hard. So and then the coach is like, stop, and I'm going in. Beating up this boy. And then the coach got in the ring and said, relax, what's wrong with you? And I was like, oh, I'm sorry. But this guy was like, he's taking a piss.
Yeah.
And then he went back to my mom and said, this guy has to be a boxer.
Yeah.
He's got this thing in him. Like he was scared to go in there because he kept saying to me like, do I have to or whatever. But once he started letting his hands off and the guy got him angry, this guy has to be a boxer. My mum never let me go back.
Can I ask then at that point, because I love that story, is there, between this thing happening to you in school and you telling yourself no one's ever going to pick on you like that, had you had a fight in between then and this spar?
So imagine, again, this is part of the story. I don't really like to... The two boys I know now, it's crazy because when we got older, I remember them seeing me like, oh, that squash, that safe.
Yeah.
I saw them. So I'm in like, this is even the reason why I said to my mum, I want to go back to boxing. Because before she actually allowed me to actually go there and do the training or whatever, I saw them. There was two boys. So this is now what I'm watching Mike Tyson. I'm trying to practice or whatever. And so I've gone to, I'll mix up my story a little bit. So I went to the boxing gym, had that spar. From that spar, I gained a lot of confidence. So I'm like, yeah, I can fight now. But it's different on the road. And then I've seen the two boys. I said, now I'm like in year 9. And then I've seen these two boys get on the same bus as me. And I put my head down. I was like, shit, what am I going to do? So I've tried to slide off like at the next stop. And they've obviously seen me. So they've got off the bus as well. And I'm just power walking. Got my rucksack on. I'm power walking. And then they started calling me saying, yo, hey. I'm ignoring them, keep walking. So they've jogged up to me. They're like, hey, what's your name again? And I said my middle name. I was like, oh, Dwayne. And they started laughing. They was like, no, you're Anthony. You went to my primary school. I was like, no, that's not me. It's not me. I'm not even looking at them. I'm like, it's not me. And they like grabbed me, put me against the wall, whatever, saying, yeah, where's that pound? And they're laughing with each other.
Shut the fuck
up.
Yeah,
they're like, where's your pound? Like, laughing with each other. Everything's fine. And then one of the boys headbutted me. I remember it was this eye even. And then my eye swelled up straight away. Couldn't even see, like, you know when it's like you can see something there?
Yeah.
Like a little mouse.
Yeah.
Headbutted me. So I'm like this. And they're just talking, laughing. When I picked my head up, I hit this boy and he didn't get up for the rest of the fight. Like, he was out. And I'm fighting with this other boy. And then it's like he wants to run, but his friend's there. So he's going back and forth. And now all I remember is one guy, big African guy, put me in a full Nelson like it was my fault. And he wouldn't let me go. So I'm a bit claustrophobic. I don't like being... So then when he's let me go, I've hit him as well. And
this was about someone trying to spit it up?
Yeah, so he's trying to spit up. But how I'm seeing it is I've lost my temper now. And he's got me in a full Nelson. I'm like, get the fuck off me, get off me. And then when he's let me go, I've hit him. And he's like, and then he said, I ran off. I ran home. But when I got home and I explained it to my mum, I was so excited. I was like, Mum, remember them two boys? And my face is all red. I got a map. And I was like, what happened to your eye? I was like, no, it's cool.
Why are you happy?
Because I'm just like, I'm buzzing the fact that I've basically just beat up two boys by myself. Two boys that used to bully me. So I'm like, that's confidence.
And that's come full circle as well. That's mad that happens in primary school. They brought, that's like saying I have a film. They bring it back up and it's, well, in between that, you said it ain't going to happen and you go into a boxing gym, you learn to fight, you get the confidence. They bring up the quid and then you had the fight and then you defend yourself. It's like that whole thing, some storyline out of a TV show or something.
It's mad. And imagine even from that story, so my mum's analysing all this, and where I grew up in Stratford, people were getting stabbed like every other day, like on my estate. So then there was a boy that my mum was very close to. He used to always come to my house and talk to my mum about his problems and his dad and his mum and that. And he got stabbed, like not far from my house, like right next to the bridge. And then I was like, Mum, like Lance got stabbed. And she went, what Lance? And I was like, the one Lance. Like, she was like, no, Mum. I was like crying. She was like, is he alive? I was like, yeah, he's alive, but like they stabbed him a few times or whatever. She was like, and I was like, see, this is why I want to go boxing. So I kept getting into my mum's head. And this is before I actually, like, she allowed me to go. That's even how I got her to get me to go to the boxing gym in the first place.
So with boxing and people like yourself, obviously you never seem to be the bully.
No.
You never been the bully. But I think lads that are bullied and girls that are bullied or have have bullied. Do you think that there's something about the sport, like something you witnessed when all that fear and that nervousness and that when you get in and you spar for the first time, do you think that could help a lot of people on both sides of that argument, the bullies and the people that are being bullied, to realise what it is to actually fight and what it is to pick on people and what it, especially people like two people trying to beat you up, two kids on one. It makes bullies second guess what they're actually doing
100%.
when they get it humbles people, doesn't it, boxing and the sport? Do you think it's something that should be out there for kids, more accessible, more encouraged for people to sort of tackle that?
I think, you see how they do football and all the kind of things in school? I think there should be controlled, professional curriculums in school with boxing. I know some people will be like, yeah, it will encourage fighting, and it will. It will make people leave that and go and fight in the playground. I'm a realist. I think that as well, because it will. When I first started learning to box, every friend that I saw, I was like, wait, stand there. I was going in front of them, like shadow boxing around them, or even saying to them, for one of my birthdays, I asked my mum to buy me like boxing gloves. They were black and yellow, 2 pairs. Anyone that was around me, they had to put in the gloves and was fighting, punching each other in their body, etc. I was gaining like a love for it. But in schools, I would say that schools should team up with boxing gyms. And even if it's good or bad students, instead of getting the tensions and making a child think there's something wrong with them, when really and truly kids are going to be kids. Some childs are naughty by nature. Some people are good by nature. They're kids. You can allow a kid to be a kid. Instead of getting the tension, go to a boxing lesson. They might love it. And then within the boxing lesson, you got professionals who know what they're doing, who are experiencing what they're doing. And 9 times out of 10, them kids become very, very humble because they're like, okay, I can't beat up these guys.
That's the thing, isn't it? I think it's not only like, yeah, of course, teaching kids to fight. There's going to be a lot of the kids when you dip in there and you do 1 or 2 sessions, some of them want to go out and throw their weight around. But I think what doesn't get enough credit is the amount of discipline and structure and good guidance from these brilliant trainers and these people that devote their time to teach kids. In a boxing gym, yeah, you're taught to fight, but you're also taught what you're doing, when to do it, and when to respect, and a lot of like you said, sparring humbles you when you take a beating and you stop thinking you're Mr. Charlie Big Balls. And I think in a long form, if someone sticks to it, youngsters stick to it 6 months, or if it was in school for like a year, maybe something like that, I do believe 99% of those kids, whether they were on the bad side or on the good side in terms of their temperament or whatever, will come out of that and get in a lot less trouble because it teaches you so much, doesn't it?
100%. I say there's no teacher like pain.
Yeah.
However you want to put it, it can be emotional pain or whatever, but there's a teacher in pain, and that's in the training. So when you're training somewhere and someone's saying to you, come on, and you're realizing, okay, cool, this is hard. Some people fall in love with it, some people don't fall in love with it. But what boxing always teaches you, no matter how, whether you take it seriously or you don't, it teaches you discipline. So some people start boxing. I work with one of my close friends, Stephen Addison. He's got a gym called Box Up Gyms, yeah. And the way it started was getting kids off the street. So he's giving free boxing lessons to anyone under the age of 19. Still happens now, boxing class, etc. And that was always been his passion, because a lot of knife crime, he's mentoring a lot of kids, they died or whatever, they're in prison. But the success rate is amazing. And some of these kids who were on the corner, selling drugs in different gang wars or whatever, some of them are working in the gym. One of them's a horse rider, a little black boy from Ilford. He's now wanting to be in the Olympics doing the horse riding, which is unheard of. That was like, back in the day, the Williams sisters, Serena Williams, saying they're going to play tennis. So history is to be made. It gives these kids it's possible. This guy goes to a stable and he's got loads of horses and things like that. These are the kind of things that can happen. There's loads of people that have got jobs. They work in the gym now. And these are kids that were kicked out of school, told you're going to be nothing, end up in gangs, stabbing people for no reason, robbing people for no reason. But then now they're doing something positive and they're spreading on that message to their friends, because usually it's the dominant ones in their friendship groups that control everything. I'll come here, we're doing this. If that leader becomes a leader of positivity, 9 times out of 10 the rest will follow.
That's a very good point. I think that's another thing that's sad. A lot of the time, a lot of the kids in gangs or a lot of the people getting involved in that stuff are always misled. And And you said to yourself you were misled, weren't you?
I was misled.
Yeah.
One of the quotes is rebuilding misguided dreams.
Yeah. I love it. That's definitely a sport that can do that.
100%.
Hello, everyone. So, for those of you that may have noticed how good myself and Johnny have been looking throughout this podcast, that's because we are donning Real. Now, they produce high-performance sportswear inspired by boxers. Boxing is as much mental as it is physical, and Real believe that it's a combination of physical and mental strength. That is where your performance potential lies. Unify body and mind to realise the power of one. Real fights for enhanced mental well-being. So whether you're a seasoned boxer or new to the sport, Real will empower you to test your limits. You can find them on Facebook and Instagram at Real Power of One, and you can find their store and their newsletter over on realpowerofone.com. And take it from me, this genuinely is some of the most comfortable and high quality sportswear that I have ever worn. So it's realpowerofone.com for sportswear inspired by boxers. And thank you so much to Real for sponsoring this podcast. Right, and let's talk about your professional career, because like you said, it was a rapid rise, especially for somebody with 12 amateur fights.
Yeah.
So you were 19 when you first started. How old are you now?
31.
31. So 19, started in the amateurs.
Yeah.
12 years later, you've risen to the top, world level, fought two of the hardest champions in the light heavyweight division. Yeah. Start of your career, like what were your aspirations becoming a pro? We know your mentality. We know you're strong-minded. We know you'll fight anyone. You've proven that, obviously. Yeah. Where did you think you would get going pro?
You know what? Even when I don't know what it was, whether it's an epiphany or whether it's what was told to me, the affirmations that were told to me, I genuinely started to believe them. You've got unheard of talent. Like I've never felt a 14-year-old hit me like that at your size, but you're fast with it. Like all these kind of things. So I was like, okay. And my friends used to say the same thing to me. Like you're a fast runner, like you're one of them guys that you're talented at different things. So I built this mentality of believing it. And again, I was lucky enough, I call it luck, to have like things like YouTube where I can listen to people I looked up to, the Will Smiths, Dwayne Johnson, Al Pacino, Arnold Schwarzenegger, like all these people, and they were all saying the same thing in their motivational speeches. Identical. Now I'm saying the same thing.
Yeah.
Because it's like
it works.
It works. There's a method to it, but people, the hardest thing is doing it because it's not easy, and people always like the easy route. Especially
these days. Yeah.
These days, people like the microwave quick meal instead of
yeah.
So I would say the reason that the fact that it's possible is what motivated me, and then I just gained this confidence saying I'm gonna do it. And I remember going home one day, age of 19, I was heavily involved in football, had Charles QPR, got injured. I remember I had a hip injury. I think I tore like one of the muscles in my hip. And then I just come back from recovery. I hadn't been in a boxing gym in years since I was 14. And I went in the kitchen, I said to my mum, you know what's mad? Like, I'm gonna start boxing again. I'm gonna be world champion. My mum was like, oh, she rolled in the ash, she was cooking. She was like, oh, here we go. I was like, no, mum, serious. Like, this is what's gonna happen. I remember going, are you going and you're doing it? I said, yeah, you can't talk. I'm a grown man now. I'm 19 now. You know what I'm saying? Less than a year, I'm gonna be 20. No longer a teenager. And we was laughing about it. Then I started going boxing. My mum realised I was never in the house. I was always in the boxing gym. And then I was like, don't worry. I'm gonna be a millionaire. That was my thing. From when I was in school, I said to my mum, I went to my mum, I said, Mum, I'm not gonna go to college. And she was like, why not? Like, that's part of the thing. I said, no. Everyone in my school is going to college. But I said, no. It don't make sense to me. This was a boy that was like, what, 15?
Yeah. She's like, what do you know?
She's like, what are you talking about? I was explaining to her, I'm not going to go to college. Because again, YouTube, I'm listening to all these people's success stories. And I haven't heard college once.
That's all just the biggest ones, though. That's common, though, isn't it?
Do you get what I'm saying? This is just I'm not saying don't go to college.
Yeah. It's not what we're saying, kids.
I'm not saying that. I'm not saying don't go uni. But for me and what I wanted, I was just a person that made a decision. I said, like, our lives are based on choices. You know, I got tattoos of it. In life, we go through different struggles. How we deal with them makes us who we are. You know, how we respond to our traumas makes us who we are, etc. And I said, okay, why not? And I think this is why I always like, I give so much praise to my mum. I've mentioned my mum in this thing about 20, 25 times because she allowed me, whether it was a mistake, or whether it was going to be good for me, she allowed me to go through it. Because you're going to learn for yourself. My mum's favourite saying was, you're going to learn. One way or another, you're going to learn. Whether it's good or bad, you're going to learn. And I didn't go to college. I started working. When I said that to her, I didn't say I was going to, all I said I was going to be a millionaire. I didn't say I was going to be boxing at this time.
Not how, yeah.
I was like 15. I said, I want to work. And I said to my mum, I said, so when I go to college, what are they going to say to me? Have you got experience? Because I'm on YouTube listening to people do interviews. I'm on them. Because my computer's underneath my stairs. I'm underneath my stairs researching. I'm like, okay, how to become a millionaire? That's when I come across these motivational speeches. And then I found someone like Floyd Mayweather who was talking all this shit. Mike Tyson Muhammad Ali talking all this shit. And then I said, yeah, you gotta give it your all. You can't be in different pots.
Yeah.
And there was a saying, don't put all your eggs in one basket. I was like, that's wrong. You put all your eggs in one basket.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, 100%. I think, again, touching on the college thing, I think what you've realised, obviously, college weren't for you back then. Obviously,
Yes.
A lot of people can make that decision or not, but the mentality is what's important.
Yes.
Doesn't matter where you focus that mentality. You focus that mentality through college, you'll fly.
You'll fly, yeah.
You focus that mentality, you can do anything you want, college or not. Do you know what I mean? It seems like you learnt that from your role models, from your experiences, and it's built sort of who you are now. I can understand now why you fight the way you do, and why you've been moved so quick, because you obviously got an iron mindset, and I can also understand why you're taking fights like Beterbiev when no one else fucking wants to, and Kovalev so early on. I have to tell this story. I know I told you this story. I'd won a little bit of money on some roulette, and I was with my good friend Lewis, who was my boxing trainer at the time. And I ended up putting some of the winnings because I couldn't wait to go and watch that Kovalev fight. Put 500 quid on round 8 and I think 500 quid on round 9. Never bet that much money before. I was a little bit drunk and I thought, oh, sod it. And you were knocking Kovalev around the ring in round 8. Yeah. And I thought it was happening. That was for you to knock him out. And
Everyone did.
Oh my God,
Even
mate. I was jumping around that thing. I was like, it was unbelievable. But yeah, anyway, that was a segue. I had to tell you that because it cracks me up. But yeah, you taking those fights now makes a hell of a lot of sense. And again, fighting people like Beterbiev, Kovalev, and putting them through their paces after such little experience, and you're 30.